Hey, class, Professor Kev here. I want to talk about quiet quitting today. Now, this is a topic that really bothers me because I think it's unfair to everyone. To you as the employee, I can't imagine what it's like to just sit there and do as little as possible. How do you fill in your day? Just like, I'm not going to do anything extra. It's not fair to your coworkers. I've seen this where coworkers have had words with each other because you're not willing to do anything above the minimum. And now I have to do extra work because of that. Not going to work. We're definitely going to have words. I've seen this happen where, I have friends that have been in this situation on both sides. And they've called their coworkers out like, hey, I'm not doing extra work because you're unhappy. If you're unhappy, get out. That's how they feel about it. I see that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about job creep because we all mentioned this and it makes sense. Sometimes it's innocent. The job just changes over time and the company doesn't sit down and go, okay, let's redo the job description to see that this has really changed over time and maybe we need to adjust the salary accordingly. Be careful here because what I've seen happen is companies have laid off people. And when that happens, yeah, it's going to be more than a job creep. You're going to end up with extra tasks. Now you got to decide what you want to do about this. I've had people go in demanding more money. Boss is like, look, we laid off people because we don't have money. Really can't help you in this. Give you a small increase, but you're like, I'm doing Kev's job and my job. I deserve twice the pay. Not going to happen because thank God I just kept the person. Be careful here. This was a tough one because if the company's going through a challenging period and you're the one on the team that walks in demanding that increase, if I need to lay off someone else, it's you. Again, class, please understand I'm never trying to be mean, just giving you an opinion. If everyone else is like, yeah, that stinks, I understand the company's going through a hard time. I want to do what I can to help. I'm keeping them over you. A lot of you mentioned, it's hard to find a job. No kidding. This is why you shouldn't quiet quit. You shouldn't mess with what you have. Eventually, the company may just fire you, especially if I'm doing more work because of it. And all of a sudden, your coworker's going to your boss saying, hey, this Kev guy, he's doing nothing because he's angry. They're going to fire you. My advice is if you're unhappy, have you spoken to your boss about it? Maybe there's a way to fix it. It's just like, oh, I don't feel appreciated. Why don't you feel appreciated? Now, a couple things can happen here. You may just have a horrible boss. I've worked for people, they're not going to compliment you at all. I was teaching a different class. I wish I still taught this class. It was overseeing an internship. And the manager of the company said they really liked the student because they just come in and did their job. They didn't need to be praised every day. That's what they said. I was like, oh my. They just didn't have any type of empathy in praising students. But again, have you spoken to them? Here's something that I'm guilty of. Sometimes we overvalue our value to the company, and that could be caused by your supervisor. I did this. I had someone on my team, they just really weren't that great of an employee. 1 to 5 in the evaluations, I gave them a 3. I didn't want to hurt their feelings. That was wrong of me. I should have gave them a 2, sometimes even a 1. They just weren't doing what I needed them to do. So sometimes we're like, I don't feel valued. Well, are you doing the steps you need to be valued? This happens in class. We talk about in my in-person class, should everyone be treated the same way? Yes. Does it happen? No. Now, personally, I'm going to favor my employees who go out of the way to help me. If you're that person quiet quitting, doing the minimum, I'm not going to give you an increase. And once your boss catches on to what you're doing, they're going to let you go. Please, please don't mess with this. So some of you talked about job, just looking at my notes. Some of you talked about job rotation. I'm a huge fan of this. Here's my story. Working at the bank, one of my team members left. Better opportunity. Small bank made perfect sense. So something came up, we needed done. I'm like, who knows how to do this? Mary. Mary, who doesn't work here anymore, Mary? Yes. My team was really mad the next day. Call a meeting, HR's with us. I'm like, look, starting today, there's 4 people on the team. You're going to rotate jobs every month. So no one's ever going to be the only person that's how to do something again. We don't want to do that. Look, I'm a manager. I very rarely played the boss card here. I'm like, look, I'm the boss, and this is what we're doing. There's no negotiation on this one. I'm never going to let myself be in a situation like this again because now, we're trying to figure out how to do it. I had to actually call Mary. Luckily, Mary's my friend. I'm like, Mary, I need you to help me out here. And she just giggled and I bought her lunch. I've solved it. But never put yourself in that situation as a supervisor. That's just silly. So they were mad about it. Job rotation works in most cases. But if you're feeling burnt out, it's easy for you to go, great, now Kev just wants me to do even more work. So it can kind of go both ways on this one. But my big issue with it is it's just not fair to your coworkers. Again, I'm old. I was taught, if you accept the job, you go in and do the best you can every day. And that approach works for me in life. That's what I expect from my team. If you're working for me, I expect you to do my best. But communication is the key. If you're feeling like you're not being acknowledged, you're feeling you're burnt out, whatever your thing is, talk about it. Go talk to your boss about it. But be careful, especially as I mentioned during any type of layoffs. I've just seen people like, well, if I got to do 2 people's job, I expect 2 people's pay. You can expect it, but you ain't getting it. And God forbid there's another layoff, you're probably going. Just be super careful here. Again, after you've done it for a year and the company's starting to turn around, yeah. Then like, hey, I was hoping we could talk about this. During the layoffs, I did take on extra responsibility. And this is where reviewing the job descriptions may help you in there. So again, this one just, I have friends do this. Well, I'm not appreciated. Well, why aren't you appreciated? They don't pay me enough to do that. Okay, but the more you make statements like that, the closer you are to the door. Because eventually your boss going, you know what, you're right. I don't pay you to do that, but I'm going to pay someone else to do it. Be really careful here. I see this, why this happens. And honestly, class, I'm 61 years old. This has been happening my whole life. All of a sudden it became a buzzword, quiet quitting. I've had friends doing it 40 years ago because they didn't feel appreciated. Communication is the key. All right, I've rambled enough on this one. Just like I said, it's something I'm really passionate about. If you're unhappy, please leave. And again, I get it. Like, well, I don't want to leave because I have good benefits. Remember, you have good benefits and good pay before you think about quiet quitting because it may cost you a job. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you're having a truly dazzling day.